Welcome all, welcome to the channel. Um, I was really thinking about if I should do this or not. I mean, it is a little bit after the fact, but I kind of was pushing me to do this right now is that, I'm having discussions about the debate and people are saying things and about the debate, things that I have not seen. And I'm like, are we looking at the same thing? You know, and people it's just amazing that people could obviously see the fault in one and don't see the fault in the other. Now, both made mistakes, both said things, both didn't answer questions. That is clearly evident, right? But one obviously is extremely disingenuous, racist, xenophobic, vengeful, unhinged, uncouth in how they carry themselves, right? Remember, this is supposed to be the job, for someone who wants to be president, right? Someone who wants to be president. So before that, because I know it's a long, we're gonna go through the whole debate, right? It's not gonna be really that long because there's breaks in between. But I'm pretty much gonna just let it play and do a lot of quick commentary because it seems like a lot of people missed a lot of things that was said, right? But before we get into that, right, for those of you that's claiming that Kamala's not black, she's only doing it now that she's black. If you read her book, right, there's some citations there where she said she was black, right? And we also have this right here, right, that goes it goes further back than her autobiography. For those of you who are questioning her blackness, and this has been something that's been really like grinding my gears and egging me, only because all of a sudden black people want is taking in applications and assessing who's really black and who's not black, when all the people the mixed people that you let in as black are the worst representations of what a black person is, right? And one of those people would be someone like Drake. Drake is Jewish, is a white man, was raised by white people, raised in Canada around white people. He didn't have a lot of black influence, not until he came here into the States and he wanted to be a rapper, saying nigga, 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 nigga all the time, really giving what to the black community, versus somebody like this who's been in America, was born in America, been in America for a long time, right? Hang around black people. So I don't know if you guys saw this before. This is State of the Black Union. And at this time, saying she is a black political figure, right? She is an attorney general, right? So, and no one questioned her blackness or not. Anyone that goes to the State of the Black Union is black. No one's questioning that, right? And no one questioned that. Now we want to question that. So let's listen to real quick what she had to say when she was on State of the Union in 2006. 2006, y'all.
Travis, I want to thank you for what you've done bringing us together and convening us. We've had a lot of time waiting to come out to talk with each other and bond, and it's an incredible group. The criminal justice system is not working for the African American community. I can tell you as the chief law enforcement officer for a major city in this country that it is not working. We see that in the statistics that you've outlined. 2 million people are in the prison system in this country. Over 40% are African American, in spite of the fact that we only constitute 13% of the general population. It's not working. It's not working when we recognize that African American men, the leading cause of their death is homicide. We are overly represented both as victims and as defendants and as witnesses. Our communities suffer because our babies hear the gunfire every night. So the 7-year-old has post-traumatic stress disorder and cannot go to school the next day and learn. The criminal justice system is not.
I'm stopping because she's saying we. She's not saying y'all. She's not saying them. She's not saying you people or anything like that. She's talking from like us, we. This is what we're going through.
Not working for us. What I think we have failed to do as a community, however, is own this issue of law enforcement. We talk about these statistics in the context always of it is unfair, it's morally incorrect. Maybe we have learned that from the church. It is morally incorrect, but nobody cares about that. You can look at Katrina. Nobody cares about the fact that we've got a bunch of young Black and brown men in prison. That argument is not working. What I suggest we do as African Americans is own this issue in law enforcement and then define it in the way that works for us, because it is a myth to say that
what we do as African Americans.
African Americans don't want law enforcement. We do. We want our grandmothers
We do.
to be able to walk to church and be safe. We want our babies to be able to walk to the park and be safe. What we don't want is racial profiling. What we don't want is excessive force.
That's right.
What we don't want is to have our civil liberties and civil rights be stripped. But we do want law enforcement. So let's define it in the way that works for us by saying, I want community policing. I want a police department that works in my neighborhood and in my community that reflects the mores and the culture and respects my grandmother, again, when they walk in to talk to her. I want a system of accountability in the criminal justice system that says law enforcement needs to own crime prevention as much as it talks about long sentences. Because nationally, only 18% of serious crime results in an arrest. So if I, as law enforcement, with my responsibility to keep you safe, only talk about keeping you safe by sending people to prison for a long time, I'm necessarily going to fall short, because the vast majority of that crime's not even hitting my system. So if I'm going to keep my promise to you to keep you safe, I better talk with you about what I'm doing in terms of crime prevention, which means recognizing that people coming out of the state prisons, 60% will recidivate.
Okay, so I think you guys get the gist there, right? So in 2006, as far from my knowledge, no one questioned if she was a Black woman or not, right? No one knows she's a Black woman or not. No one. But now we want to play these games of not knowing by saying she's not Black, right? So if you want to grade her on saying, well, she's not Black, we'll just say she's a shitty Black person. Say that. You know what I'm saying? I'll take that. But when you have people in the Black community that are mixed, or with white women or with white men, and you don't question their Blackness, I find this conversation extremely disingenuous. Extremely disingenuous. So let me play one more quick video. Now, I haven't seen this video yet, so I'm kind of going out on a limb here. But one thing to note, it's probably not a video, that her parents were also were a part of the civil rights movement. And I found that to be very, very interesting. Not that many presidential candidates could say that, they had parents that was a part of the civil rights movement, right? So he said everything you know about Hamlet's parents. I thought it was a video, but this is something that you guys could look into. I wonder if I click the right article. So it says Shamala and Donald first met in Berkeley, California, and were active in the civil rights movement. They both immigrated to the United States to receive doctorate degree at the University of California, Berkeley. The two met and fell in love at the Berkeley while participating in civil rights movement, Harris wrote in her autobiography, right? So these are people that are knowing who they are and what their place is in America. So when you got your Tariq Nakuns and fake pro-Black people saying, and FBA bitches saying, y'all come here to undermine us and you don't know what Black is. The direct society, the idiots of society, the morons of society. here you have people like my people come here, know who they are, know what white supremacy is, and they see a group of their people, and they link up with their people, right, to fight, which is Black Americans. So I hope this dispels the notion of her Blackness. Like I said, if you don't like her as a Black woman or a Black person, just say she's a shitty Black person. Oh, she's married to a white man. What I'm saying, she don't explore her Black side too much and things of that nature. Then you know what? I'll kind of somewhat disagree with it. I'm gray on it, but I understand, and that's very fair. But to totally take away her Blackness, and you have these mulatto people going around that's not 100% Black. Y'all say Tiger Woods is Black, and he doesn't want to be considered Black, but y'all still gonna say he's Black, right? So it's like when Black people start pulling checking people's cars and see who's Black and stuff like that. It's an effing joke. It's an effing joke to me. So with that said, one last thing I'm going to do. So we have people like see the title I put in this video is a Real Independent Pro-Black African look at it, because we got pan so-called Pan-Africanist Strikes Back, MAGA Strikes Back. He's on there doing lies. He didn't do anything mention anything about the Haitians eating cats. I think he's going to do something like that later on. I'm very curious. He's probably going to make an excuse for that, and that's all he does. So real quick, just to expose him further as the liar that he is, right? He is. Yeah, let me do it in order, right? I came on. Hold on. I came on one of his lives. I didn't go on because I know all he can do is get mad and kick me off like he always do, because I expose him as the pedo loving pro rape person that he is. As long as it's Donald Trump and Republicans doing it, him and Dinus, they don't care. Donald Trump could rape and beat and do anything to women, grab them by the what and rape them, and it's totally fine. He could be a pedophile judging 13-year-old beauty pageants and see him naked. That is totally fine, right? So he knows who he is. So right now, I'm gonna show you something where he's gonna lie and said that, hey, I kicked, like, he wants me to come up and talk, but again, I got no time for that energy right now. Come up and talk to him, and I'm like, no, because I know all you're gonna do is just take me out. So for those of you who may miss that, I'm going to play it again so you can see how blatant a liar he is, and he tried to do a character assassination. Sadly, try to do a character assassination, but thankfully we have video. We have video and audio of your lies. So let's see here. I'm going to show you this.
For Jamal Khashoggi's murder.
Do you agree with the DNI? Do you believe that report?
Are we really still doing this, Dan? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have not seen the DNI report that the Biden administration put out there, right? And number two is, look, I know the person who I dealt with. I think he's a visionary leader. I think what he's done in that region is transformational. I think he's done a lot of things that are in America's interest, and I think he's done a lot of things that have made the world a better place. And I understand why people, are upset about that. I think what happened there was absolutely horrific. But again, our job was to represent America, to try to push forward things in America.
Are we still doing this? Yes, Jared, we're still doing this. The DNI report is public. It has been public for 3 years. I'll post it on X, the platform previously known as Twitter, so you can read it for yourself.
All right, there we go. So Trump is getting money from China, or he would say China. He's getting money from China, and he's getting money from the Saudis. right? And I'm pretty sure I'm going out on the limb, and Brandon knows this, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's selling this country out because he is pro-Putin. He's pro-communist. He's a pan-communist now.
You only able information. You only made information.
This is where me and you get into it because
Yes, because I talk about your beloved king, and you don't like that.
No, you're saying it, but you have no proof. You got to give me.
I proved it.
Tell me where to go to prove this. You just said that Trump takes money from China because Chinese dignitaries stay at his hotels.
Yes, that's how he launched it. If you're so against China, why
is the article where he owes China all that money?
would you do that? Even all your crappy suits and stuff that Trump has is made overseas. We had this conversation before, and you said, "Well, yeah, that's of course doing business because of tariffs and yada yada yada."
You're not gonna outtalk me, so just stop with that. What I'm telling
you, what you mean not outtalk you? I'm answering.
You're trying to overtalk me because you know what you're saying is not true, so you try to say it loud and overtalk me. First of all,
no, that's what you do. But go ahead, it's your show.
If these people buy a service from Trump, meaning they stay in Trump's hotel, they pay Donald Trump to stay in his hotel, wherever they are in the world, then Trump actually pays people in China to manufacture a suit.
So now, so he's saying, "Oh, Chinese stay in Trump's hotel. What's the big deal? I thought China was the enemy. Now it's okay. Oh no, it's okay. They could stay They could stay at Trump's hotel. He's just providing a service. You see now how he just changes his whole energy now. Now it's okay to do business with China. This is totally fine. Even though I said 2 minutes ago, like, oh, China's the worst and Biden's working with China. No, I just proved to you that Trump is working with China and is in bed with China economically.
Manufacture a suit for him, which he then brings to America and sells that suit. That's called doing business. Now, we can see the paper trail.
Okay, all right. I see how you put the goalpost. So for that.
I'm done with this nigga.
Anyway. Yeah, I'm done with this nigga. What? All I did was laugh. No, this is okay. They could stay at Trump's hotel.
I'm done with this nigga. I'm done with this nigga. I'm done with this nigga. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm done with this nigga. See him kicking me out, right? Kick me out, right? So he's gonna say later on when I was in his comment section just enjoying the MAGA tears, just drinking the MAGA tears of them bitching and complaining about how Donald Trump is losing and how he keeps messing up, and he was like, "Oh, come in, let me talk to you." I'm like, no, because all you're gonna do is kick me out, like you always do. I got no time for that. Here we go. Here you go. You're gonna see him lie.
Here with my cousin, we lay on the couch watching TV, and I was watching her. You better take it. You remember? I said, Jesus Christ, her voice is like nails on a chalkboard. I said, bro, could you imagine? I said, could you imagine this woman like really being president? Like, could you? He was like, hell no. There's no one who can take this woman serious as far as her being president of the United States. That ain't no damn code switching. Code switching is done when you're not in charge. She's in charge. Hey, man, you listen, I don't kick you out. You leave because you get angry, Kofi. You get up here.
So you see him say he lied. He lied again, saying he doesn't kick me out. I get angry and I leave. And you can see what I wrote right here. It says, every time I check you kick me out. This is why real political minds like myself and Afro Think Tank don't come up. You hear him lying. It's the last time I was on his channel.
You start going crazy, and then when I bring up basic facts, you leave. Please tell me why Kamala is Kumala. Why is she fake code switching? The thing I can say about you, Kofi, is at least every time you come up here, you're the same person, a deranged, feminine beta male. but at least you're consistent with your femininity. There's nothing. I mean, I respect that.
You know, he tries. He tries to insult me. You know, but it pretty much falls on deaf ears because we all know who Brandon really is. Brandon doesn't mind that Donald Trump is a rapist, doesn't mind that Donald Trump is a pedophile, doesn't mind Donald Trump is a racist. He doesn't mind. Like right here.
Hired him to judge it. Hey, bro. Hey, they hired him to judge it, and guess what? Trump did it.
You see, he said they hired him to judge it. Right? When you ask him about, hey, Trump walks in on 13 and 14-year-old girls in beauty pageants. His thing is saying, oh, they hired him to judge it. Right? You present him with the evidence. Here was the evidence about Donald Trump's being around little young girls and him raping them. Right? He has 25 cases of women saying that he sexually assaulted or raped them, along with children.
Girl pageants walking in on them. Like, give me a fucking break. Hey, bro. Hey, they hired him to judge it, and guess what?
Did you see the diary?
But Trump is not a pedophile judging girl pageants walking in on them. Like, give me a fucking break. Hey, bro. Hey, they hired him to judge it, and guess what?
Yeah, this is who Trump is. And Brandon has no problem. So when he says those lame attacks, being a beta male, no one got no battery in my back to agree to the deplorable behavior that society itself would throw you under the jail if you're that lucky. They don't string you up and kill you. So I don't even pay him any mind when he says stuff like that because, like you guys know, his whole thing, my channel is small. So as long as no one sees it, no one's going to see it and it's not going to get out and mess with his pockets. You know what I'm saying? As far as him grifting on the community. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, peace out to Been a Medicine podcast. Peace. Thanks for joining me. Peace to Brother Bakari. Thank you for joining me as well. Right? So, you know, just giving you a little what's going on between him and I. I don't look at him too often, but I know when something juicy happens, I know he's going to make an excuse. And just goes to further that you can't be an American conservative and be a Pan-African at the same time, because you're going to see all the shucking and jiving and the dancing that they got to do in order to make white supremacy and racism palatable for Black people, which absolutely makes no sense. So I'm going to show one more thing that he lied, to pivot on certain facts of this debate, right? Where he had to pretty much lie, because I'm going to show you right here real quick. It's not going to be long. Where I saw him on the presidential debate and he was overlooking a whole bunch of things because Trump was losing. He was even fighting people in his own audience, saying that he's reaching. And for example, this is what he did.
What I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all, in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe
if he was elected again, first she goes totally away from the economy, tries to flip it to Project 2025, blames that on Trump, and then says if he's elected again. You know you lying when you're making up words. What word is again? Can somebody tell me?
Because she didn't say that, but moving on.
Again. Do you hear? Oh, Project 2025. But does the so-called fact checker fact checker when it's already been debunked? Trump is not associated with Project 2020.
That's one of the lies that he's telling. All of people in Trump's cabinet are the authors of Project 2025. we're gonna get into that. Sorry about that. We're gonna get into that later, right? But he's lying that Trump has no affiliation with Project 2025.
25?
Very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans. Lady, he asked you about the economy. Never said anything about the economy. Lied, made stuff up throughout Project 2025. But I want to give you guys an example of how dumb liberal voters are. Some of them. This guy, Kofi the Black Critic, probably is the biggest Democrat shill I've ever met in my life, right? He'll get up and argue in defense of pedophilia. He'll get up here and argue in defense of men playing in women's sports. He'll get up and argue in defense of any degenerate, lowbrow, liberal philosophy that comes out, right?
And we all know that's a lie because he's the one that's complete projection. So he's doing the Republican playbook. All the evil, despicable things that I am for, I got to put that on my opposition so people won't look at me. So pretty much, you know what I'm saying, his is a confession of his, right? So we all know that here, that's what he is. That's why he want to go on Afro Think Tank's channel. That's why he won't go on my channel. He won't go on a lot of other people's channels that no longer follow him, right? But let's let him hang himself. So you can see right here where I said top economists like Goldman Sachs say that Kamala's economical plan is better than Trump, that will add trillions to the deficit. That's what I said.
This man says top economists like Goldman Sachs. I want to make sure this is not some guy, but it's not. I know he's talking about Goldman Sachs, which is an investment firm. I know that's what he's talking about, but let me double check. Goldman, who's Goldman Sachs?
I misspelled it. I was typing quick, but he knows who Goldman Sachs is. So it's low hanging fruit, and someone like him have to go for the low hanging fruit because he's a little short, pudgy guy, but he got to go for the low hanging fruit when it comes to the conversation.
Yes, Goldman Sachs, right? So he says it like it's a person. Top economists like Goldman Sachs, right?
So I'm not going to waste your time anymore. Basically, he's going to say that I meant it that as a person when we all know Goldman Sachs is not a person. It's a corporation. That's why I say top economist. See, plural, like Goldman Sachs, not individual people. So already, I just want to share with you guys that to see how just dishonest he is. So that's the last place where you need to get any news from. What I'm about to do right here is going to be real political commentary in all honesty. That's what I'm going to do. Right. Brother Bukhari says he's the one that defends Trump. Everything he just said is all Trump. Exactly. Right. Look, as an independent, I even heard like Neferkari Dessalines, because of the whole cat thing and what's going on with the Haitians living in fear. He's like, look, I got no dog in this fight. You know what I'm saying? But you're making me vote for the black woman that's married to the white man. Y'all forcing my hand right now. You're making me vote for the black woman married to the white man. He said, I want nothing to do with this, but now y'all made it personal. And this is what I'm trying to say, that Trump's rhetoric is extremely divisive. And people who are independents, right, especially if you're a black independent, there's like, oh, hell no. Like you saying this about black people, people are automatically going to go going to the Democrats because you're doubling down, saying they're illegal immigrants when they're there legally. They brought jobs. The jobs that are opening, they're like a part of the workforce. I think they're like 20% a part of manufacturing workforce. They have homes anyway. So let me just get it started. because it's going to be not long, but because I'm going to let it rock.
The podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
He's all walking slow and sluggish, like Lurch from the Addams Family. She, she walked past her podium to meet him at his podium. Fucking bastard.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people.
Okay, so this is not mostly a strike one for her, but I'll be fair. She's not answering the question. It's good that she's laying down her economic plan, but again, guys, the question was, how was the economy now versus 4 years ago? That's easy, right? That's very easy. So far, she's not answering the question.
People. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy.
She's still not answering the question. How was your administration better than Trump's administration was 4 years ago? You're just giving what your economic plan is moving forward.
My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
So that's the whole thing that we was going back and forth about when I put in when Brandon was reviewing it, saying that economists, people like Goldman Sachs, saying that Trump's plan will add more to the deficit. So everything she's saying is right. She's saying what her plan is. That's good, but you did not answer the question.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China.
Lie? Well, unless it's his own personal account, not for the American people.
In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do.
Trump said that they didn't take the tariff off. I believe that to be true.
taken in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had it.
That's another lie. There's no such thing as zero inflation. Like that's the inflation. Zero inflation is not a thing. There's going to be some sort of inflation to keep the economy like balanced. Like there's no such thing as zero inflation. He just lied again.
At a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago.
Now, Trump is answering the question. Trump is answering the question, but he's lying. So Trump is answering the question, unlike Kamala, but he's lying about the tariffs and inflation.
This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions.
He's with the black job, and Kamala's just laughing because he's doing the best hits. He's thinking he's doing it because this what works. You got a black job, you stupid bitch. You got Barack Obama. You got his job. So if anyone is taking anybody's job in this stage right now, is you. You took a black man's job, which was Obama, which was the president, right? So this whole thing of him saying, let me rewind it back. So just a little bit. I promise I'm not going to do this too much. Just to get back on point.
But for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions.
So again, he has repeated this, but he cleaned it up here. Remember, he said there's people coming from, since this is an African-centered channel, they're coming from Africa. They're coming from the Congo. They're violent people, right? They're sending them here. So much to the point that the crime rate in those countries are low, and all the criminals are coming here. And Pancoonism strikes back. When I mentioned this to him, he agreed with Trump saying, yes, if you're here and you're African and you're here and you're not undocumented, you are, because Trump used the rhetoric, a Hitler rhetoric, saying that you are poison in the blood of America. And Brandon says, yes, Africans, or if they're here, they're a poison in the blood of America. Right? So, he double talks. So again, the black job, again, with the vilifying non-white people. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Ukrainians here. There's a lot of Eastern, Northern Europeans. There's a lot of Europeans here. But again, I said this before, the face of immigration is never a white face, even though the face of immigration, besides the black people that was forced here, right, is a white face, but it's never vilified. The moment you get enough white people, all of a sudden, the face of illegal immigration is a black and brown face.
And insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora.
He mentioned Springfield, Ohio. So y'all know what's coming. But he mentioned Springfield, Ohio. They're taking over towns. See, this is, and people say, why are you comparing? These are Hitler references. You're demonizing on people, taking their humanity away, saying they're invading you in your space.
In Colorado, they are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden.
Remember, a native-born American commits way more crime than an immigrant. So him saying these things is just statistically wrong. Now, for the Magatars, I didn't say, because this is how they hear it. I didn't say immigrants don't commit any crimes, right? No, I'm saying they commit way less crimes as a whole, as a group, than American-born. So I'm doing it as a group, and you want to talk about individuals. I said as a group, immigrants commit way less crime.
Let into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do
That's a lie.
it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
So now she's answering the questions. I think she had a script in her head that she wanted to get out so bad. So she just totally ignored the question and was concentrating on what needed to be said. So now that the question is posed to her again, now she's actually answering the question.
Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President.
I agree with everything she just said. She didn't tell one lie. She didn't, stretch the truth or anything like that.
And Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025.
He lied. He lied again. There's other clips where he said that he's going to contradict himself too. He's like, I never heard of it. I don't know anything about it. There's some things in there that are bad and some things in there that are okay, but I never heard about it. If you never heard about it, you never read it, how would you know if some things are bad and some things are okay? It makes no sense. The person who wrote the from the Heritage Foundation, British, it was some British oh my gosh, I'm sorry. It was some British columnists, right? The British press did like a sting operation where they're talking to the president of the Heritage Foundation, and he said, yes, Trump knows what's going on. I talked to Trump. I talked to people within the Trump administration, and they're green lighted. I got the green light. They're waiting for me for when he gets elected or when to implement it. I work from behind the scenes. He's lying.
That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad.
I guess some good or some bad. If you didn't read it and you don't want to read it, how can you guess on something that you don't know about and just be totally in the middle? Like, well, I guess it's good and I guess some of it is bad. If you are not privy to anything in Project 2025, you cannot comment on anything on Project 2025 because you have not read it. But you totally undermine your whole statement when you says, well, some good is some bad. I can't guess on what is going on in freaking Texas at a roadhouse right now. Because I don't know any goddamn roadhouses in Texas right now. And I don't know what the hell are they doing. I can guess. But it makes no sense to me guess because I don't know. See, he tells on himself.
But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before.
For the rich.
We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917 where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. He
did not do a phenomenal job with the pandemic. Guys, remember he said you could put disinfectant in the body and you could put light in the body. These were things we were saying. He also said that it would be gone in by like August. It's going to be gone like in August. It's going to be gone right away. It's going to be gone. Then he didn't want to take the vaccine. Then he got sick and ended up taking the vaccine. He was all over the place, mostly because there's a bunch of right-wing retarded people that say, I don't take the shot. And because you don't believe in science, believe in Jesus and the Republican Party, which is Trump. That's what they believe in, right? So the pandemic is not his fault, but how he handled it was completely horrible.
Handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's
Lies.
ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit.
They thought it was possible because it should have been done. He did do that, but he did it very late. That's why you had thousands and thousands of people that died.
For rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But
lied. He also lied, saying that all the jobs, I think he's piggybacking on the statement. He said that all the jobs that was created by the Biden and Harris administration, he says all of them went straight to illegal immigrants. All of them went straight to illegal immigrants. And since he's such a genius, he said 110, was it 110? 110 of them went like more than a lot. More than all of them is 110. If you understand basic 110%, if you understand basic math, 100% is everything. You have 110%, then you're being graded and is being analyzed with a different metrics. 100% is everything. You can't say more than 100%, more than everything, which is 100%. He's an idiot.
I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. And
I'm pausing it here because people say that she has no economic plan. I don't know what she is going to do. What are her policies? I'm like, are we looking at the same thing? The first thing she did was not answer the question, and she was so eager to say what her policies is that she didn't answer the question until much later on. And here she is again saying, here is her policy. So after the debate, like days after the debate, people say, well, I don't know what her policies are. You weren't listening. Probably because you're already biased, you don't like her or whatever. You're not really into this listening to what the woman has to say. You're more hung up on Trump because to you, some people, I think, they think politics is freaking American Idol is, oh, who do I like more? Who made me laugh? Who gave me goosebumps? This is politics. This is not freaking American Idol.
the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy.
Goldman Sachs, according to Brandon, he thinks that I think that's one person, but this is what Republicans got to do.
What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
But he has a concept of a plan, Kamala. What are you talking about? He spoke out of turn. No one told you to talk. You're speaking out of turn. As you can hear him speaking out of turn, his mic wasn't even on. He's speaking out of turn.
To the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan.
Prove it. He's lying.
And that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President.
Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan. This guy is a moron. Even if it's Biden's plan, according to him, right? She has a plan that's running. He even says the specifications of why is it Biden's plan. She just says Biden's plan because it's a black woman. You know, black people are stupid. They're idiots. They're morons and stuff like that. Just like he don't want black people counting on his money and things of that nature, right? So you think black people are stupid. He dated like this mulatto chick, right? I forgot which parent was black. And he said, oh, you're smart. And he said, oh, you got your intelligence from the white parent. You know what I'm saying? So him saying that, you know, it's typical of Trump. It's typical of Trump, right? So he says she doesn't have a plan. Look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan. Look at her plan.
President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The vice president brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripped.
Fucking idiot. The man just told you, all the economists, top economists saying that you increasing tariffs is going to get passed on the consumer and is going to cause inflation. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. And he's going to continue on his rant of who he think he knows because, oh, I went to this school and she doesn't have a plan. And this is his plan. Wow.
Ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation.
Lying again about not having any inflation. When he did that war with China and everything, I went to the grocery store, things were way more expensive. And everyone knew because of what Trump did.
Perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else.
That's a lie. I've always was able and capable of buying eggs and bacon and cereal. The price may have fluctuated, but it has not gotten that bad where I can't buy stuff for breakfast. He's told another lie. He has to lie. His whole thing is based on sensationalism and fear.
The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President.
Opinion. That's totally wrong.
President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling.
She's not answering the question. The follow question, and that's what I keep saying, is saying that they were being charitable to Kamala Harris and not Trump. She's not answering the question. They say, okay, Trump made a statement about you keeping mostly of the tariffs. You and Biden kept most of the tariffs. You don't like the tariffs that he implemented, but you get most of them. Why? She's not answering the question. Let's see if she'll finally answer the question. She's talking about the trade war, yeah, all that, but you kept those tariffs. Let's see if she'll answer.
American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi.
You're not answering the question. He asked you, why did you and Biden, the Biden administration, kept most of the tariffs that Donald Trump implemented? I told you I'm going to be honest, right? I'm not blue MAGA. I'm not red MAGA. I'm just honest. She's not answering the question. What she's saying is true, but you're not answering the question. And I would like to know, why did you keep those tariffs? Well, I kind of have an idea why I kept those tariffs. You know, if it's going to make America money and things like that. Oh, keep them motherfuckers. Keep it. You know what I'm saying? But you're not answering the question. That's twice. Well, 1.5. She didn't ask a question, answer a question so far.
For what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her.
Why you say Taiwan? Taiwan is China. I'm not going to go into the history with that, but it's like saying North Carolina and South Carolina are completely two different states and the people aren't related. You know what I'm saying? Or the Virgin Islands, or, you know what I'm saying, of America. But it's the same thing. Taiwan, China, same thing.
Her, because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it.
Laughing.
And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics. And he.
Ooh, you talking about someone's daddy? Her father's a Marxist professor. You want to talk about daddies? What she should have did. So your father's a goddamn Nazi KKK member that didn't rent stuff to black people. You want to talk about somebody's daddy, motherfucker?
He taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country.
Pull that number out of his orange behind.
They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before.
So, like I said again, guys, there's immigrants of all walks of life. There's lots of immigrants from Europe. Why is it only the black and brown immigrants criminals, but all the white ones aren't? The ones from Spain isn't. The one from the Netherlands, they're not. The Eastern Europeans, people from Greece, Italy, Ireland, they're not criminals. So I just think that white immigrants are just very respectful, law-abiding people globally. And all the blacks and all the brown people are just criminal migrants. They're just criminals. They need to be like the white immigrants and do the right thing.
Before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane, almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump. Thank you. Lindsay?
I want to
Again, vilifying that black and brown people cannot immigrate to America. They have to destroy America because they hate America. They come into a place because they hate it, because they want to destroy it. Again, more fear mongering on one side about black and brown people.
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the government.
He's not answering the question. The question is, why did you flip-flop? Once you say you needed more than 6 weeks, then they press you again, and now you want to ban the 6 weeks. Then it's straight to, but them and they. Nope, not a good look. It's going to get worse, but definitely not a good look.
Day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because
this makes no sense. I don't know what's going on in country ass West Virginia, but what does a mayor have to do with delivering children and making a call, a medical call saying, well, yada, 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 I'm assessing the situation, kill the baby. Like, you're the mayor. That's a doctor's decision, right? So that alone doesn't make any sense, but you know it's coming.
Because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's
that Tim Walz never said that. That's a lie.
Execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into
50 years. Who is they? He's not talking about the American people. He's talking about white Christian evangelical people. He's not talking about the American people as a whole. So when he says they, that's what he's talking about.
Into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also.
This is where he's a king moron and he's an ass. And again, he contradicts himself. If you're saying you overturn Roe v. Wade, because everybody wanted, right? Everybody wanted to return those protections that you didn't like. But you said, except for the 3 exceptions, incest, rape, and the life of the mother. Either Trump is an idiot or he's a fool. If you give it back to the states, they are states where there's abortion under no exception. No exception. So the things that you are against, your red states, are for it. So again, Trump is either an idiot or he's a fool. Those were the protections that Roe v. Wade had, right? You even have Republicans nowadays that they're trying to go after contraceptives. They're going after the birth control pill. They're going after the morning after pill. They're going after condoms. They're going. It's because they think that life starts at a cellular level, as far as semen, an egg, and a zygote. It's gonna. He's an idiot. He's telling you he's an idiot because Roe v. Wade protected all those things. But now it goes back to the states. We're back in time where you can marry your cousin and it's all right. Come on. He's an idiot.
85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat.
I'm paying attention to the chat. So only says you're not really giving analysis. You're just your opinion on opinion versus his. What I'm saying, this is politics. This is politics. It's either legal or it isn't. There's no room for opinion. So if you're saying this, I'm being opinionated. You're trying to say I'm not being factual. And the opinion is, well, you know what? Those blue high tops look better than the green high tops. That's an opinion. I'm talking about what he's saying is a lie, or versus what the truth is. It's not an opinion. Please elaborate and let me know what am I lying about and what he's telling the truth about. Because as far as I know on the books, you cannot kill. It's not an abortion after the baby's delivered. That's just those terms alone is just retarded. Someone doesn't understand how the English language is. Once a baby is born, it is born. It is a live human being with its own autonomy, right? And it's its own person. After you do that, it's called murder, not an abortion. So please do let me know what I'm being opinionated on.
Every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme.
It's still a part of the federal government because the states, well, not the federal government, but the government still has his hand on it because the state is determining what a woman can and can't do based upon the state and the history of the state. And we got a lot of degenerate white evangelical sister cousin loving people in those states that made those laws.
Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to.
And all the right wingers and the closet magatards lost their shit when she did that. Now, there's things that they could have fact checked. I think they could have fact checked, yeah. But to me, that was the most egregious lie. Basically saying that West Virginia and Democrats are killing babies. That, to me, nothing that has been said so far has been so horribly such an egregious lie on that level where you're telling someone they commit murder, right? So that needed to be fact checked, and they got mad. If the mediators are lying, why haven't you guys shown us documented proof of this happening? Show me a law in West Virginia where that happens. You just give me the mayor said, and the mayor's not a doctor. Why would out of the mayor doing all his mayoral duties, he's going into emergency rooms and hospital rooms saying, "Oh, that baby was just born, kill it." Like it just makes no sense on his face.
want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans.
True. She's telling the truth.
That make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
Exactly. A rapist and a pedophile should not be in charge of what women need to do with their body, as far as like their health care, as far as like having children. But that is deeper. This is insane. A person who is a convicted rapist, right, have over a dozen women saying that he raped them or sexually assaulted them. A person who admits that, hey, you see that girl over there? I'll be dating her in 10 years. An admitted pedophile is in charge of one of the most controversial, shouldn't be controversial, one of the most important things that women have overcome to this side and take back their power of their own autonomy. Donald Trump is in charge of that. That's the person that's in charge of that. Y'all need to give me a fucking break, yo.
I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
Y'all remember that little girl that got raped by that guy, and she couldn't get an abortion. She had to go to another town. This is what Trump wanted by his own admission. The states wanted it. That's what they wanted. That's insane. Who wants that? Who wants that for children and young girls and women? No one wants that. And man, I can't. Okay, let me behave. Let me behave.
And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice.
Yeah, they're gonna have like a monitor, so they'll be taking. I know it sounds crazy. I can't believe I'm even saying it, but how would they enforce an official ban on abortion? Right? They have to know, because people will do things. Anything that's illegal, people are going to find a way to do it. Right? So they're going to have to be monitors. People on managing their menstrual cycle and all this. Just insane.
Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban, because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else.
He's lying. Democrats didn't want that. If Democrats wanted that, why did you fill the court with conservative judges? He can't even lie right. If everybody wanted that, why did you fill the court with conservative evangelical judges that's going to follow everything that you want. You're not making any sense. You're not making, everybody wanted that. So all the examples that Kamala Harris gave, those women wanted that. That girl wanted that. They had a woman that her and her husband, I think they were trying to get their second, third child, and the baby passed away inside her, and she couldn't get an abortion. She couldn't get an abortion. And it's like, if you don't get, and the doctor didn't want to do it because the doctor didn't want to lose their license to practice. So she either could have died from that, worst case scenario, or if they take too long doing that, she could no longer have kids. But these bastards are supposedly pro-life, and everybody wanted it.
And every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never.
He's not answering the question. This is, I'm going to skip it a little bit because they go on this abortion thing. Trump is just a broken record, and he's not going to answer questions. We all know that's what he does, and yada, yada, yada. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I'm just going to fast forward to the next question. Forgive me here.
Then you ask her that question.
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question. Would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth.
Till 6 months before the election to act. And would you have done anything? You were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job.
I'm not sure she's answering the question. I kind of have to double check because that whole border deal thing was about 6 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. But let's say they did it right on time, right? Let's say they did it before it was 6 months. Let's say they did it at 7 months or 8 months. And I said this before, both parties are guilty of the border crisis, but they're guilty for it in different ways. The Democrats are guilty for it because they're not as tough on the border, even though they deported more people than Obama. Obama deported more people than Bush, and so on and so forth. So they are more tougher. They're being more tougher. They when I looked at the stats statistics, they deported more people than the Trump administration. As surprising as that is, their whole thing is they can't get a law on the books, right? They can't get a law on the books. They can't really be as harsh as far as like the law on the books. The Republicans, if you ain't white, it's simple. You ain't white, nah, get the fuck out of here. We don't want you here. That's as plain as simple as that is. So it being supposed to be a bipartisan thing, so it can move through the mechanisms of the United States to get to Congress and so on and so forth. That's where these two are having a stalemate. What she's about to say about the bipartisan deal and stuff like that, All that is absolutely correct. But to get to this point, both parties are responsible of why the border is like this way it is right now.
Their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
Yeah, he did. Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, and when the Senate approved it, it was supposed to go to the House. He wasn't even there. He said that bill is dead on arrival. Why? Because Trump says no. Don't solve the border issue. Don't solve the border issue. You're gonna make it because it makes the Biden campaign looks bad. We'll deal with it later, and that's why it's a bill that they wanted. Right? Most of the stuff is mostly a conservative bill, and they vetoed the bill that they want once it got to the House. It's ridiculous.
And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend
Here comes the bait and switch.
one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch.
Look, see the checkmate coming, guys. I know you hear the checkmate about to come.
You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you,
he can't stay still. He's so fidgeting. He's about to explode.
The one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just.
What she said was absolutely right. I don't understand how people say, well, Trump is smart. He says windmills causes cancer. He said Hannibal Lecter, he was looking at Silence of the Lambs and thought it was an actual real story with real people. He says you put a magnet in water and the magnet don't work no more. There's like so many examples. The whole putting disinfectant in your body to kill COVID. The whole saying, well, I don't like this hurricane going to Puerto Rico. What if the hurricane should go? Come on, y'all. He makes George Bush look like Steve freaking Hawking. He's a freaking moron.
Just ask though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to.
Got him. He's going to talk about how big his rallies is. He's not talking about you. Here he goes again, ranting about his rallies, saying that fake people, what Trump does. Trump does AI images with black people voting. He does publicity stunts with that coon bedwench chick. I forgot her name. That was at the Chick-fil-A. She was also at the bodega here in New York. She was and he did the whole thing with go talk to the black church where they had the black ministers there, but the audience was nothing filled with white people in a black church. Trump has a traveling circus, and it's those same people. So this is projection.
To be there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. A lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening.
No. We do not eat pets. That's my Haitian accent. Anyway, again, for those of you that say two wings of the same bird, so far we hear one person vilifying and demonizing Black people. The other one is not demonizing immigrants at all. You have one person they're demonizing Haitians, which is a very small percentage of quote illegal aliens, even though they are legal here legally in Springfield, Ohio, right? And they say they're eating dogs, they're eating pets. And then with JD Vance admitted that said it was a lie. We all know it was proven to be a lie now, right? But again, they had some people say they also eat human beings or whatever, stuff like that. That is not part of. Oh, my bad. That is not a part of Haitian culture.
The United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk.
Sorry about that. That is not a part of Haitian culture at all, in no way, shape, or form, to eat dogs and cats. So I love what Kamala Harris did. She pretty much walked him like a dog, baited him real easily because of his ego. And he said one of the most egregious things he could do about Black people. With Mexicans, they're rapists and criminal and stuff like that. Now he's saying Black people or eat pets, and we're taking over towns and we're the scourge and stuff like that. Knowing the history in this country that Black people has been seen as other and as violent, he's adding fuel to this fictitious fire that Black people, now immigrants, are doing all these criminal, despicable things.
Talking, not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio.
I love how they keep using Venezuela. Like Venezuela is the worst place on earth to be. Like all other European countries is just beautiful and just lovely, but don't go to those South American, African places. Oh God, no.
And ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for us.
Sit down, Grandpa. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. I saw it on TV. Okay, Grandpa, go to sleep. Go to sleep.
City manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people are on television saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
So only crackers and racists and coons and tools of white supremacists get mad that they fact checked the fact that he told a lie, an egregious, despicable, disgusting lie about Black people eating pets. Right? About Black people eating pets. And these are the people that are those are the type of people that are mad at this particular fact check. Then we got mad at fact check that, oh, you can't, I should let you get away with saying that I murder babies. Trump should also get away, and no one should say anything about Black people eating pets and cats and dogs. No one should fact check that. Let Trump rock with that. Again, these people are anti-American and are anti-Black, plain and simple.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond
Yeah.
here.
Thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people.
Before he gets into that, this is the thing where I'm saying, even though this is an election of left and right, Democrat and Republican, this is an election about America, as corny as that may sound, extremely corny, cliche as that may sound. But you have one person, as we see with Project 2025, is trying to overturn American democracy to the point where people in this party, people in his cabinet are no longer supporting him, right? These are facts. We have only saying I'm stating an opinion, only in the chat, saying I'm stating opinion. I'm stating facts. People in his own party don't want or not endorsing him and saying that. So his generals, his vice president, Mike Pence, because you try to get Mike Pence killed the last time where they had gallows for him and stuff like that, because he did his duty by certifying the elections, right? You have lots of people that are in jail or indicted for all the criminality that he had them do on his behalf. Why? Because he's trying to circumvent, cast doubt on elections, saying the election was stolen after he calls Georgia and Raffensperger saying, "Oh, just give me 400 votes. That's all that I need. You can make it happen." All that is illegal. All that is illegal. So this is about, if you want to operate, if you don't give a damn about America, and the hell with the rules, I'm not going to be here, let the mother sucker burn. Okay, fine. But if you want certain things to get done in America, as far as like policy and things passed, you got to do it under the guides, under the framework of the Constitution. You got to do it under the framework of all the laws and things that we have in place. And if he gets back in, he's going to be the top executive, where the federal government, where Project 2025 explains that the federal government is not going to be like you got the federal government and you have the local government. It's not going to work like that. The federal government is going to have a direct link to the local government. So the local government is doing something that he doesn't like, him as the president could intervene and say, "Hey, look, this is what we're going to do without voting, without saying, well, you know what, it passed the constitution of that state, or through the regular processes. Well, you know what, I'm going to fight it in the Supreme Court. No. It's not going to work like that. Whatever he says goes. He's going to have a direct pipeline to local laws, vice versa.
Those people, not so graciously, they did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the third.
Wait. But wasn't Trump the person that says he hires the best people? He hires the best people, but then he fired them, which means you don't hire the best people. Do you all remember when he said that? Oh, I hired the best. I hired the best people. He's magnificent. He's this, he's that. So either you're a bad businessman or you're full of shit and you don't know what good people are.
13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But
that book really hurt me. Keep talking about that book because it's the truth.
Just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
That's another lie. He still can't get over that he's not a popular president. The first time he won through the Electoral College. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but Trump had more Electoral College votes. He was never a popular candidate. Never. But he keeps telling this lie. That's why one of the first things he lied about was during his inaugural speech and things like that. People was like, wow, look at Trump's crowd compared to Obama. It was pathetic. It looked like one of his rallies.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their...
See, Kamala is like me. Just sits there, inspect, start writing things down. Trump hasn't written anything down. Trump hasn't written anything down as far as that. But he's not answering the question. Well, he did. He's saying, like, how is this mass deportation of illegal immigrants going to look like? You say you can use the National Guard, you say you can use the police, or they're going to go door to door. And he's saying, yeah. And he just continues just to blame the other one. Well, they're the reason. Okay, fine. Yeah, we get that. How are we going to implement that? Again, it's going to be like, hopefully it isn't, but it's going to be like Nazi Germany. You know what I'm saying? Like, my homeboy he's Jamaican. I remember, when Trump was first president, it was saying like, is this gonna be the Hispanic people? He got people in the Bronx, and his issue wasn't too right too. He had some things he had to take care of. His issue wasn't really up to par. He good now though, but he was like, yo, bro, I'm staying in the house. I'm like, why? He's like, yo, they grabbing up Jamaicans too. I'm like, no, they not. He's like, yo, my cousin live in the Bronx. They went into a Jamaican restaurant. They went in the patty shop, yo. And ICE just came in there. There was this checking people's IDs. I was like, nah. He's like, yup. They doing it to everybody. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not doing to them Italians owning the pizzeria or going down to an Irish pub checking IDs, but just letting you guys know what's going on in my neck of the woods back then. That's all.
Their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they.
This is another right Republican talking point, which I never really understood. But again, it exposes their racism. They're saying that they want more illegals in because when you get illegals in, they're going to vote Democrat. So Republicans already know they're a very unpopular party. So that's one of the reasons why they're against immigration because it's not white people and stuff like that. Yeah, we get that. But if they're bringing all these people in, it's like the die has already been cast. Oh, because they bring them in, they're going to be Democrats. So basically, you saying you is a potential voting block that you don't even care about, even being your constituents. Well, I mean, they're your constituents once they could legally vote. You have no concern with aligning yourself politically with these people because they're not white, in my view. And they always say, oh, because they're going to get more votes, they're going to get more votes, they're going to get more votes. Again, guys, the Democratic Party works like most democracies should work. Hey, look, the more people we support, the more people we have in this democracy where votes and numbers count, the better off we're going to be. The Republicans, I don't understand how their mind work. They feel like, well, we don't need the votes, but then yeah, we kind of need the votes. So it's just a weird thing that Republicans say.
What they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime in this country.
He's lying again.
Countries through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you.
So he knows more than FBI. Remember, this is Donald Trump, a person who says to call the FBI, the CIA, the FDA, calls them the deep state and they're frauds and all this stuff. So coming from Donald Trump, yeah, I would, any smart intellectual person that knows who he is and how he relates to government organizations is not going to listen to him on what is a fraud.
Thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference.
True.
Has been found liable for sexual assault. And
True.
his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
True.
And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently.
See, so already he's saying FBI. So already he's saying that the the government and systems that are in place in the government is they're saying it's election interference. The E. Jean Carroll case happened that happened in like the 90s or whatever. Happened in the 90s. Him filing doing tax fraud. All this happened before Biden was even in office. These are things that he did. All these things is things that he did. No one made him take secret documents to Mar-a-Lago. No one told him to rape Eugene Carroll. Like, what is he talking about? That's like me going right now. Like, I'm going back to Ghana. From Guyana, I'm going to Ghana. Watch, I'm doing it big. And I go over there and I kick an old lady in the back instead of helping her across the street, and I rob her. Then I'm about to go to JFK. I got my ticket, and they arrest me and say, "Oh, see, they interfere in my vacation. See, they don't want me to live my best life, y'all. They don't want me to go to Ghana. They don't want me to go to Ghana. They don't want me to live my best life. Yo, support me. That's what he's saying. It's retarded. So already he's demeaning government. This is red bells and sirens, guys. Red bells and sirens. But he's not going to do Project 2025 or be a dictator on day one like he said he's going to be.
Recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump.
Again, he's lying. Biden and other people have those documents. What the archive, the United States Archive, say, hey, you may have took some records. Can we have them back? Biden, Mike Pence even had some, right? Republicans, Democrats. Oh, here you go. All right, thank you. They go away. Trump, you got some records. Can we have it back? Okay, here you go. There's still more. Can we have some? You still have more records. Can we get them all? Bullshitting, hiding it, getting his lawyers to hide it. That's why they raided Mar-a-Lago. But he's saying that's fake. What part of that is fake? There's nothing. The part of that is fake. You have documents that you're supposed to give back that you never gave back. None of that is fake. See, this is for people that don't know anything about politics, that don't follow politics on a day-to-day basis. I remember that, right? His deplorable base was saying, "Oh, they don't. It's fake. They don't have documents." Then Trump say, "Well, I do have documents." Then they changed it to, "Oh, wow, he got documents." To, "Oh, he could just pardon it with his mind. He could just waive it and say it's no longer." He could just unclassify it. They keep moving the goalposts. The first he didn't have it. To him, well, he's the president. He can do whatever he wants, and he can unclassify anything. These are the people that support him.
And Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president,
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably.
You see, they let Trump interrupt, talk over, and they're saying that this whole panel, this whole thing is unfair. Where are they telling him to shut up? Whenever he wants to say something, they let him say it. You cannot please these reprehensible, dishonest people. You can't.
Probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They
Right.
talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy
President
with a fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very.
See, that's a good question that they asked her due to her position. But according to them, they throwing her softball questions.
Clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil.
She's not really answering the question. Why have you said your values haven't changed, but your position has changed? Why have you changed? I see what you're doing and it's beneficial. Yes, we see that, but why has your position changed? She's giving a political answer, but I would like a more honest answer from her. Like, well, yeah, this is my position. My position was always in the benefit of the United States and environmental protections. And I see a need here where we could facilitate our current needs while still looking towards the future for alternative energy. But she's not answering the question.
Oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on longstanding work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
Very good speech, but you didn't answer the question.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions.
Your father that was a racist and building buildings that wouldn't rent to black people. Yeah, we get it.
And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave
Not
all
true.
that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out.
See how nasty he was? She overtalks him all the time. And anyway, it's petty.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
Transgender operations on illegal aliens in prison. Why? That's before or after they eat the cats.
This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing so important, in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant?
Does this moron think that there is no alternative energy? There's no solar energy. There's no wind energy or anything like that. Everything is either gasoline and coal. This guy's a moron.
Solar plant, by the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment,
to.
as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot.
Ashley Babbitt was an insurrectionist that broke into the Capitol, right, with a rambunctious, barbaric element, right? As they get to the final place door where all of the high elected officials, so like Nancy Pelosi, congressmen, Mike Pence that he didn't care about, and the senators and stuff like that, they're about to breach. Ashley Babbitt is also a military. She was also in the military. So she understands what she was doing. She feels like she had a right to do it. But she know what she was doing was wrong. And they told her to stand down She wouldn't stand down. Guns was drawn. They saw guns was drawn. They say, do not break through that window. They broke through the window, and she continued to try to climb through the window. So it was already a breach. They already breached several security points. This is the last one. White privilege, man. If that was if that was a Million Man March, the first gate they would have broke, they would have opened fire. But they broke through the security points outside the Capitol, in the Capitol, till they finally get to the last stronghold. Then they decided to kill her, right? So Trump, again, Blue Lives Matter. Nah, Blue Lives Matter only when they're killing black and Hispanic people. Right now, blue lives don't matter because they killed one of his people.
Shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by that.
He's not answering the question. Do you have any regrets about January 6th? Obviously, he doesn't.
The border. In fact, she said at the beginning, "Oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet." That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's good.
They try to hold him down to say, do you have any regrets? He keeps saying no. This guy is not accountable for the things that he's saying and do. He's just simply not. Irresponsible.
To be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know.
Nancy Pelosi was in the Capitol when it got attacked. How would Nancy Pelosi be in charge of that? She's not in charge of that, number one. Number two, you're the president. You see that happening, you should take action. Nancy Pelosi was calling, trying to get help. She was in there to the point where they went inside her office. They're facing her office all the time. The guy with the horns and all the others, they were all in her office. What he's saying makes no sense.
I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible.
And ABC News is not going to check him on that lie.
She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
But the Jews will not replace us. The Jews are not beating up black people, all that stuff. That's why I don't understand niggas that are Republicans. You got what happened in Charlottesville. You got white people, white racists that were mad that they were taking down the statue of Robert E. Lee. And you had the white racist saying, that is our history. That is Southern pride, sir. You don't do no such thing. And you got good white people and black people against the white racists. And that was on Richard Spencer's group, the alt-right. And Donald Trump said there's both people, there's good people on both sides. I don't understand y'all MAGA niggas. I don't. Well, I do. You guys are pretty much like Steven from Django.
Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election, there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business.
Donald Trump fact checked Kamala, and guess what, y'all? He's right. She took that out of context, or she didn't realize the context which he said it in. It wasn't about the election. It was about the economy. There's other things that he said that, that refer to something similar to, he said, if he doesn't win the election, it's going to be a problem, it's going to be an issue and things of that nature. But I'm not going to take up time saying what that is. But I want to give Trump his credit, right? Kamala, I'm not going to say she lied because she looks like it's not a lie. So I give her the benefit of the doubt. She mischaracterized that statement.
Business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered
all of Trump's right-wing Fox News people who peddled that the election was stolen. That same news organization that got sued for billions of dollars that eventually end up kicking Tucker Carlson off of the air. Yeah, those people that don't even say that crap no more because they got sued. Yes, those people. Got it.
Covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like
he's lying. He said there's good people on both sides. We all saw that. Where's the lie?
They bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs it.
Trump somewhat has a point there. It gets a little complicated there as far as me studying this, but Trump does have a point, but you're still going to need some sort of bipartisanship. But Trump does have a point in that, and anyone that knows me, that follow me in politics, one thing I admire about the Trump administration, right or wrong or effing stupid, he wrote more executive orders than any president I've seen just coming into it. You know what I'm saying? So he already has overturned everything that Obama did, even though if it was good. He just wanted that's his way of giving Obama the middle finger.
Signs a bill that the border is closed. All he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically.
So he really thinks he won the last presidential election, even though his attorney general, William Barr, William Barr said, I think there's fraud. Even though William Barr said there's no signs of massive fraud. Even though he knows that he lost and he called Georgia saying he needs 11,000 and something more votes. Even though he knew he lost by doing fake electors. Even though he knew he went to over 50 court cases to present evidence of voter fraud and lost every one. He still thinks that he won. This is complete delusion. And this is what people was like, I don't know. Maybe I should let the fucking racist nut pussy grabbing pedophile rapist that thinks that windmills give you cancer and you can put bleach inside you rule the goddamn country. Am I, man? Okay, I said I was going to be nice.
Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country.
So fucking idiot. Illegal immigrants cannot vote. They have to be U.S. citizens. Again, illegal immigrants cannot vote.
What country they're in.
Even regular immigrants can't vote. They have to be a U.S. citizen.
Practically, and these people are trying to get them to vote, and that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm. Lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
no
Republican,
judge looked at it
and said
they said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where
Asshole, not having standing, meaning that you have presented no evidence that's standing up to what you're claiming. They can't find anything reputable to support your claim that there was widespread voter fraud. So your claim has no standing.
where a person in an election doesn't have standing, the president of the United States doesn't have standing.
You see, that's how you know that he's trying to throw his weight around. I'm the president of the United States. I should automatically have standing. Yeah, president, not dictator. President, not dictator. You think you're the president? Everyone just has to just follow what you have to say. Well, it's the president. What you going to do? Hold them accountable. This is not a monarchy. This is not a theocracy. This is a democracy. You just can't say, well, I got standing, so you got to listen to what I have to say. Do what I have, do what I say, and don't question me. No, there's laws that we all have to adhere to, even the president of the United States.
That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter
And you still lost.
because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by whiskers. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
He did say that. This is insane. He said he's going to send people, anyone that's a donor or support the Democratic Party, they're going to send them to jail. Dude, this is like some this is like some Hitler stuff. This is like some Mussolini Gestapo type nonsense. But he's supposed to be operating within the confines of American democracy. And you see, Trump is not even denying that. He's not even denying, like, yeah, I said that, what? That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. He's not even getting caught because he's telling people this. People say it. He doubles down on it. And y'all still throw your hands up in here like, I don't know who to vote for.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as vice president of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world...
Again, he's not denying that the election was stolen. He's talking about dictators and right-wingers from different countries like Hungary, like Viktor Orban.
blowing up. 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia.
Yes, what's going on in North Korea right now is that when you first started out, we were scared of Kim Jong-un making nuclear weapons. After you said you fell in love with him and all this other bullshit, he now has and continue to make nuclear weapons. What you did was nothing. You did nothing to prevent that. He has nuclear weapons now.
Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. but he got 14 million votes. They threw him.
He's just ranting and raving. He said, how would you know that he hates her? He's just mad. He lost it. He's just mad. He's just trying to get under her skin, but he's very bad at it.
Out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were...
Correction, that's how we got here as of recently, but this war has been going on in that part of the world since 1946, right? When you have Zionists. Now, when I say Zionists, I'm not going to take too long with this. When I talk about Zionists, I talk about Europeans. There were Jews there already, the real Semitic people. They were there already. But then around the beginning, I mean, Zionism started around like the early 1900s. But after World War II happened, you had a huge influx of German Europeans going there. So obviously, the Balfour Accord, whatever, because England was in charge of that area, so they had their fellow white people come over there and just flood that whole area because they wanted, to kind of pretty much annex and have like a white presence there. So yeah, so you're taking people's land. It goes way further back than October 6th of last year.
Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately. And the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two.
So I was on a Better Medicine podcast not this weekend, but last weekend, and I forgot who the person was, and he didn't have an understanding. I don't know if it was Oni, of American policy. American policy is always to support Israel and Ukraine. Israel is, I believe, is part of NATO. Ukraine isn't, but it is. They are our ally, right? And this is what a lot of people are not understanding. Supporting Israel, you don't have a choice in supporting Israel. What you do have a choice, because it's American policy, what you do have a choice is on how do you support Israel and to what extent will you support Israel, right? You don't have to do anything about the Palestinians because you don't owe any allegiance to the Palestinians, but simple human decency and being, should have you concerned because you are aiding in their genocide.
A two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever. I know Putin very well.
She didn't say anything about Russia. We're talking about Israel and Palestine, you stupid fool.
Well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into
That's a lie.
Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to.
He is telling the truth from what I've known. I know the story has changed, but I feel, this is my personal opinion, I feel that was a smart move because Netanyahu is a war criminal. You have South Africa took his government to the United Nations and charged them with genocide of the Palestinians. So meeting him in such a glorious way of solidarity shows that, hey, look, I agree with everything that you're saying, everything that you're doing, because I heard it was a kiss ass contest over there, and Kamala Harris has Palestinians going to her rally saying stop the genocide, stop the genocide. No one's going to the Republican rally because everyone knows the Republican rally wants is anti-Muslim, anti-Arab, right? Anti-Palestinian. So no one's going to go to their rally. They're not like niggas who's going to go run to their open person who hates them and say, well, they're not doing anything, well, they're supposed to help us, so let me go to my open enemy and go on their side. They're not like niggas. So they're not going to go to a Trump rally and say, stop killing us. They're just going to call them a bunch of sand niggers and tell them to get. You know what I'm saying? Democrats, you could hold them accountable. And she said that's what she's going to do, but we'll see.
You want to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different.
We understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and said when Russia went into Ukraine.
What they're doing is they're spreading that money around.
No, that's absolutely not true. I have my entire.
Never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported.
Her husband is Jewish, unfortunately, but her husband is Jewish.
Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that he's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that
he did say he wants to be a dictator on day one. He did say that. And Sean Hannity asked him that same question again, and he said, just day one, smiling.
That he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why So many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment. War.
I want the war to stop.
The Biden administration, that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you.
He's not answering the question. Do you want Ukraine to win the war? I want the war to be over. Okay. At whose expense? I want the war to be over. He's not answering it because he gets mad when people say, Russia, 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 Russia. Because Russia is not our ally. Ukraine is our ally. Like, why can't you say Ukraine? He can't even lie.
That you're getting with your fake numbers. Look,
fake numbers.
We're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III.
He got it right that time before he'll say World War II. He got it right this time.
And we have a president that we don't even know if where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
See how unhinged he is? ABC let him go crazy, and you still have right-wing pundits and MAGA niggas saying that, oh, it's just one-sided. it's one-sided. Oh my gosh, they won't let him talk.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal.
Yo, are we watching the same debate here? He doesn't want to mess with Ukraine. He's not going to say Ukraine. U.S. policy, just like how you want to be a staunch defender of Israel, the same thing applies to Ukraine. But he doesn't want to do it because he's going to step on Putin's toes. He doesn't want to step on Putin's toes. And Israel is easy because they're just killing a bunch of Arabs. So it fits the MAGA narrative perfectly.
Deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe
Ooh, Trump had a senior moment.
the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor?
So that's a nice strategic move right there, because European Jews, you know, a lot of them are from Poland. Not that much is from Germany anymore. They kind of all spread out, but definitely is a lot of them come from Poland and Russia. So as a Polish American, it's going to be like, well, Trump is like Hitler 2.0, but if you have Putin do that, he kind of has Hitler's sentiments, because remember, he is a Christian and he's a dictator. So those are two common things that Hitler was about.
And what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to.
Nah, you're not. We don't want to hear nothing from you. You gave your answer already. You don't want Ukraine to win. Like, well, I don't want to hear that.
Something you said earlier, and now, please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting.
Again, they give in to him. This is like the 5th, 6th time they give in to Trump.
In Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting.
I'm skipping this, y'all, because he's still gonna not gonna support Ukraine. So he's in a pocket of Putin. So I don't want to waste time listening to him.
She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader, upholding international rules and norms, as a
Killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time.
Boys who were innocent, the Central Park lets us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us. And
Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black." I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
He's lying. Even though that's a good answer, we all know he's lying.
But those were your words. So I'm
I don't
asking.
know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was.
Those are your words. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Those were your words. Why did you say that? I don't know. I don't know. I read something. She said she's black.
Not black, that she put out. And I'll say that. And then I read that she was black. And that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was he owned land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to Black families.
Facts. Black MAGA hates that fact.
Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
And I've said that many times. New York State doesn't have the death penalty. You're not, like Kamala said, he took a page out asking for the execution of those 5 boys. He wanted New York State law to become a death row state just because of those boys. And even after those boys were exonerated with DNA evidence, he still said they need to be put to death. But niggas gonna do what niggas do. But you got certain quote unquote Black people don't know. I don't know who to vote for. It's even on both sides. And okay, yeah, okay, all right, idiots.
Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States.
That's true.
And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five, they admitted, they said they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And
They didn't kill anybody. And Mayor Bloomberg wasn't even the freaking governor or mayor at that time during the Central Park Five. What is he talking about?
if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the.
There's nothing now. You call Letitia James, the Attorney General here in New York, you call her Peekaboo James. Because it goes with Jigaboo. You're gonna call her Jigaboo, so you call her Peekaboo James. What you mean, like now, like you don't do racist stuff now? You still are saying, holding dear to all the racist statements that you made with Central Park Five, with Charlottesville, with you and your father not renting homes to black people. You're still doubling down on that.
In the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy.
Lies.
Because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Time's up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan.
No, look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan. Look at it. She doesn't have a plan. Look at her plan.
Give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your.
Again, if y'all still rocking with me and people still rocking with me, they say they don't know what her plan is. They don't know what she's offering. There she goes again, saying it for like the umpteenth time.
Child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling. Let's turn the page.
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's turn
Trump,
back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody.
So they let him talk and go. They're having him go mad. You hear? He's absolutely fucking mad.
He's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move on
to
to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's
you,
what
Mr.
her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President
because,
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
gonna
just need to
move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to.
And they cut, and they won't let Kamala answer, but they're in favor of her. He said something twice. Need to address. They told her no, but they're being very favorable towards her. Is what I've heard. I know we didn't see the same thing.
vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats.
After this, I'm gonna pretty much bring it to an end because I'm gonna play my favorite part, and that'll be it. So this is coming closer to an end. The link is in the chat for anybody who wants to come up and say anything. No problem. But this is the last one about healthcare, and I'm pretty much done. And when he says that famous line, it's pretty much a wrap after that.
Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be? Never going to be great. Or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if
I have a concept of a plan. And this is where I'm ending it. He was president before. One of the first things he did, I remember, was him trying to, because Obamacare is horrible. All the things he's saying about it is horrible, right? Couldn't do nothing with it. Everything he did just failed. He said to the famous line, "Oh, who knew healthcare was so complicated? Who knew it was so complicated? Oh my God." 4 years in, he did nothing, right? To the point where you got some magatards that's saying, "Oh, I had no health care. Now I got health care. Oh, Trump must have did something for me because I got health care now, not that goddamn lousy goddamn Obamacare, that goddamn Sam nigger. And he's a Muslim, ain't he? No, you have Obamacare." And then they don't like to hear that, so they'll call it the Affordable Care Act. He did nothing. So this man going on 8 years, 4 years as president, almost 4 years not being president. And the thing that he was supposed to say he was going to do, one of his campaign promises that he didn't do was Obamacare. This orange Negro still has a concept of a plan, which means, again, projection. Kamala Harris, look at her plan. She has no plan. He's the one that doesn't have a plan. He said, "I have a concept of a plan." A concept of a plan. He has no plan, but he has a concept of a plan. Let's hear him say it again.
Absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change.
She's just laughing because it's stupid. You're stupid. You had about 8 years to come up with something. You have 4 years. You try to put something together for 4 years, right? You're not president anymore, right? You should have had something for the 4 years that you were president to replace Obamacare, because we don't want that Muslim, that dirty African Kenyan Muslim we don't want his health care. Me, I'm a white German immigrant that's here. White, FBA, Tariq Nasheed, white people can't be tethers. You know what I'm saying? White people can't be tethers. They could be Trump is an anchor baby. You know what I'm saying? He came here, he was born in Queens, New York, because his father was from Germany and all this stuff. So he's the parents of tethers. But we know FBA is just nothing but a bunch of house niggas and propping up white people and white supremacy so they can have a nice comfortable place under white supremacy. So that's who FBA is. But I just wanted to mention that. So Kamala is just laughing. I'm gonna let her respond a little bit. I like the fact that he has a concept of a plan. Again, the link is in the chat. Anybody wants to come in while Kamala gives a quick response, you're free to.
We change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris in 20.
Lied again. He kept saying that with Obamacare while he was president. What's on Obamacare? It's coming. What's Obamacare? In a matter of weeks. What's up with Obamacare? Oh, it's coming soon. We're getting things together. Never happened. This guy is a freaking bad liar.
2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, let's just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the...
That's true. 60 times try to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, and he also tried to get rid of Social Security. Those were the things that he was trying to get rid of. It's about 3 hours in. I think the rest is gonna just be about healthcare. Let me know if you guys want me just to play the rest out, or we have people calling in. We have someone. Yeah, people coming in, then we'll continue discussion then. But if not, I'll let it play. If you want me to let it play, put one in the chat. Or if I could, if you want me to wrap it up, just put two in the chat.
At the time, when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate, and the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people.
See, that's John McCain, former Republican. John McCain was one of the first people who did not like Donald Trump because he saw through his bullshit. John McCain is a person probably what I don't agree with politically, but he was a type of person who did country before party. Trump, they do party comes first before country. So that's the difference.
People with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people.
That's true. That is very true. That's one thing that they did. They lower prices on prescription drugs. That EpiPen thing that Joe Manchin had, and he was cornering the market on, where people had to pay all these astronomical prices for insulin. So yeah, Joe Manchin was just pretty much a closet Republican.
Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
We are here live on ABC with our post-debate.
I just want to show their closing statements, and that'll be it.
American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that.
Never asked, which is why I have two very different visions for our country. One that is focused.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue after this. Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition.
Hey, I have a concept of a plan. I don't need a plan. I have a concept.
Of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why?
That's a very good question. Well, it's disingenuous because the border is your fault right now. They've added jobs. Unemployment rate is lower than it was under your presidency before COVID, right? But I asked this of the same thing when he was running with the with that fake bullshit platinum plan that he's going to get black people, which he never did. You could do that right now, Mr. Trump, but he's doing that as a campaign slogan so people could vote for him. He could have did a platinum plan right then and there when he was offering. He was the president, but all the things that he just said that she couldn't, why can't she do it? She has done it. The only thing that's preventing her from doing it is that you blocked it with the border bill.
Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country.
Lying. The United States is doing more, drilling more oil than ever before. So when he says drill, baby, drill, and all this other nonsense, we're pulling more oil out of the ground now than when he was president. That's just a fact.
This country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to
That's a lie.
Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst
They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Yeah, we know.
vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
So he spent his last minutes demagoguing people. Fear, 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 fear. Whatever I say, you do bounces off of me and sticks to you. He said nothing about what his plan is going to be for the American people. He said nothing what he's going to do to improve. All he's saying is that I love Putin. Fuck Ukraine. I gave it back to the States. Roe v. Wade is horrible, right? Proud Boys, stand back, stand by. I won the election. Deep state. That's all he was saying. He didn't say anything that he's going to do that he's going to do for the American people. He had no policy. He had no real policy. His policy was like, they're bad. I'm good. It's going to crap. I had zero inflation. I had the best economy, and again, I know what I saw. I don't know what you guys saw. Like I said, the link is in the chat. Just in case everybody wants to come up. Only if you're still there, I would like for you to tell me what my opinion was, because I don't want to be opinionated. I want to be factual. So if you're still there, either now or later, please tell me what I was being opinionated on, right? One thing you did say is true. It says Trump blurts out things without proof. That is true. All right. Don't trust either one of them. You know what? I respect that. You know what I'm saying? Don't trust anyone until they give you a reason to trust them. That's a very healthy way of, you know what I'm saying, you not understand people, you don't know people. Yeah, don't trust anybody that you don't know. That people have to build trust. You know, so I got no problem with that. I totally feel you on that. But I really do want to know what specifically you were talking about when you said, you know, I'm not giving an analysis, I'm giving my opinion, you know, versus his. I don't, when it comes to politics, I don't do opinion. And if I do an opinion, I'll say it's an opinion. But when it comes to politics and history, I don't do opinions. Either I'm right or I'm wrong. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I'm glad I saw this all over again, because some things people were saying are like about, well, she stated no policy. I don't know what she's about. What has she done? She already told she's seen foreign dignitaries and talked to Vladimir Zelensky over 5 times. Oh, there was a video I wanted to show you where she went to, I don't know if it was Botswana or, oh my gosh, it was some East African country. And while she was vice president, it was very nice. I liked it. It was very warm. She was doing a lot of things behind the scene, visiting Africa and things like that, which I felt it was beautiful. Hopefully she'll do something for them, and far as like dedicating infrastructure and facilitating on Africa's needs, right? If you could give Ukraine and Israel all this money, like, come on, you should be able to give Americans, especially Black Americans and Americans here, something. If you're going to go international, show that same love too, because you're already showing love internationally to all the Europeans in the world. I don't see, guys, let me know if I'm wrong, where you just, out of the kindness of your heart, you're just giving money to Black and brown nations and expect nothing in return. Because they give Israel money and they don't expect anything in return by giving Israel money, except for we're here in the Middle East and we got our foot on the necks of these Arabs. So that's pretty much about it, guys. I pretty much want to do this live stream because I know, yeah, it's a little long or whatever, stuff like that, but it's really something that I wanted to do, especially people were telling me things like, oh, you didn't see that, I don't know what her policy is, I don't know what this person is talking about, yada yada yada, this, that, and the other. So I'm like, huh? I was like, I'm pretty sure I didn't see that. So I guess the people that was telling me this has very selective hearing, or they already picked Trump and didn't care to really have an open mind to see what one is saying against the other. But I'm glad I did this. Hopefully I helped you guys either way, saying make a clearer decision. I hope I brought some light to who Kamala Harris is. And I do thank Brother Bakari, and I do thank Afro Think Tank in helping me study who she is and what she is. Javen Bullets too, right? As going into her background and who she is and what she is, the things as her policies as a senator and attorney general, right? And how she navigated through politics as a Black woman or a mixed woman. You know what I'm saying? Which again, I have no problem with. If you want to say she ain't Black enough and that's cool. I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? She's mulatto, she may lean one more than the other. But one thing I'm not going to do in this day and age is saying that she's not Black, because that's just ridiculous to say that she's not Black, and you Negroes accept the worst of the mulattoes and saying, but they Black, they Black, they Black, they Black. Yeah, I'm not going to play that stupid game. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for rocking with me. Again, remember to please like, share, subscribe. I just do this just out of the love of conversating and just, talking and conversing and just sharing my views. I just do it for the love of that. I don't do it for any monetary gain. Only thing I ask you for free is to just hit the thumbs up button and share if you can. And also put in the comments here anything I got right, anything I got wrong. I'm pretty much open to whatever you have to say, whether you agree with me or not. It's all cool. Let's have a good conversation in the comment section. And until next time, peace, take care of yourself, and Black Power.